to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast.
Subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for Two Strangers, One Podcast. For Android users, we are also available on the Stitcher app and the Play Store for Google.
Now here's Chris.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris, and with us tonight we have organizer of BentCon, LBGTQ-centric convention, a person who's been involved in conventions for over 30 years, going to them, organizing them, wonderful internet personality. I love him to death. I bring to you BELLZ Jordan. How you doing, Bells?
Oh, pretty good. I do a lot of things, but BentCon's the big thing these days.
So, like, right before the episode, and it's funny, like, every time when I do episodes with my usual co-host, Paul, like, we always talk about the stuff that we were just talking about before we actually started recording. But you organize conventions. Is that
I organize events. My day job is actually event production, where it's kind of a glorified decorator. I can do like weddings and events and stuff, and we're the guys that come in and put up the tents and the decorations and the chandeliers and, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you what's the word? You stage.
Yeah, we do all the staging.
Now, for listeners of the show, I mean, people know that I am like a huge fan of the cartoon Megas XLR. We've had your husband Jody on the show. And I'd mentioned to you once again before the episode how similar you guys sound. Did you grow up? Because I know he grew up in Jersey. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, he was pretty much always in New Jersey. I never stayed anywhere for more than like 3 years when I was a kid. My family traveled a lot. My dad was setting up trucking ports all across the country at that point. This was back in the late 60s, early 70s. So every couple of years we moved. So I was kind of that new kid constantly.
Oh, was that like where truckers like shower and stuff like that, or like?
No. Like the depots where like the trucks will come in. Like specifically, he worked for Yellow Trucking Company, I think was the name of it.
Okay.
But they were just a big shipping company. You'd see the trucks on the roads and stuff. Well, basically those are going from port to port to port all across the country,
okay.
Dropping off, picking up deliveries. So he would go and set up those ports as far as I could tell. I don't know. I was a kid.
Okay.
It just meant we had to move again.
Like an army brat, except
Kinda, but more industrial. Dad was a Marine drill instructor, but that was pretty much before we were around. And then from there, he moved to deputy sheriff in Miami, where we lived in Florida for a while. And then he started doing the trucking thing, and that started taking us all over the place.
Oh boy, did you have to have your room like in order, place for everything and everything in its place?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
My mother was very much a creative. I think I got most of my decorating skills from her because she looked at it as every time she got to movement, she got a new place to decorate. So it made it made it kind of fun instead of this horrible, tedious thing we had to do yet again. So yeah, that's kind of where I learned to do all my decorating and event production. Springfield, Missouri was actually where I spent my pretty much all of high school, 8th through 12th grade. And that's actually where I started getting in. That was early 80s, and that's where I first started getting into D&D and the convention scene. My first convention was 30 years ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, called Ocon. Oh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. By the end of the convention, its logo went from a screw to a bloody screw to a screw and a lemon, signed by Steve Jackson from Steve Jackson Games, because he was the guest. Oh. It was an awful convention, but it was a hell of a memory for a first one for 30 years ago.
So yeah, you were in the trenches back when it was some sort of like mildew infested room of a hotel or something like a.
Oh yeah. No, it was back when adventure games still had paper.
Wow.
You had to write things down and use your imagination.
Oh yeah, and I had mentioned this in the past, and D&D has a special place in my heart because a good friend of mine who passed away at the age of 30, my old DM, my old dungeon master, and it feels weird to say dungeon master or game master or whatever nomenclature you decide to use, but his situation was that his name was Jimmy, and he was dirt poor. I mean, and mind you, when I say Jimmy, his name was Jimmy. It wasn't James. It was Jimmy because his parents were from Colombia, and when they came over to the United States, when they had their first, he wasn't the first one born in the United States, but by the time he was born, their naivete of the American culture, they didn't know that Jimmy was, they wanted to give an American name, but they didn't know that Jimmy was a nickname. So on his birth certificate it says Jimmy. And like I said, this guy, didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but somehow got his hands on monster manuals and guides and, grid paper. And, I think those were some of the most, I had friends that dropped out of college because they were too busy playing Jimmy's games, and it was, you can't beat that kind of level of imagination. We would literally start Friday afternoon, sleep over his house, or everyone would go home for a couple of hours, come back right back, and play all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday. It was
so much
like
Mountain Dew pizza, so much Mountain Dew and pizza back then.
Oh, definitely. We'd all chip in for pizza.
Yep.
I think we were. I don't know. Luckily, I think we were just kind of young. Where luckily, I don't think we didn't need the caffeine.
Oh, we did. As soon as I discovered Jolt in the '80s, and that was like the first energy drink. Oh, we loved that.
Oh yeah. Well,
that kept their gaming going all night long, all weekend long sometimes.
And I may be wrong, but Jolt you couldn't find Jolt in New York City. It was always kind of like this rumored thing that, everyone had that, oh, I went upstate once and I saw it in a store upstate. Like, it just wasn't a New York City thing. We never had Jolt until like years later when it kind of like got reintroduced. But, in my teen years, I just remember going to you'd go to cafes in the Village and stuff like that and have like a bowl of coffee. Basically a bowl.
Oh, by the way, my condolences. I see Yappa is closing.
Yes, and it's so funny that you say Yappa's. That was one of the places.
It was one of the places I used to go when I first moved to the East Coast. Yappa was my home cafe.
Yeah, Yappa's was, and I would go there and have the what the hell was the name of it? I think it was like Mississippi mud pie, if I'm not mistaken, or something to that effect. And it was, that and some, a bowl of coffee.
A bowl of coffee, exactly.
Yeah. It is the end of an era with the gentrification.
Yeah.
I grew up just south of there. I grew up probably driving wise, probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and walking about a half an hour. Just south of Alphabet City, Avenue A, Avenue B, Avenue C, Avenue D, but a little south of there. So, and it's funny, my friend Jimmy, we would walk to the Village. That was kind of like us hanging out in the Village was a thing. Or we would call it at the time, growing up, kids from the 80s, we would call it the Ville. You want to go to the Ville? All right, let's go to the Ville, Let's go troop to the
I started going in the early 90s when I first moved to DC, New York. I kind of moved around in anywhere from DC to New York. I was doing a lot of couch hopping in those days. But yeah, we Yappa was the place that we'd go to when the PATH train was closed until 6 a.m. and we needed somewhere to hang out to get back into New Jersey. I was actually back in the old days. I was part of the old Party Monster scene. It was weird when the movie came out, and I'm sitting there going, I was at that party. Yeah.
With me, it was Kids. You ever see Kids?
Oh yeah.
It was, and I used to hang out at Washington Square Park, and it is weird, kind of like, kids, not from Kids, but what's the movie? Half Baked. Buying the weed from the Rastafarian guys, or half the time that stuff isn't even weed.
However, sometimes it is. You can get really lucky with those Rastas.
I think it was the college kids that they knew they could take advantage of, the kids
that
never grew up in a that came from very, very rural areas, and they could spot a mark or whatever the case may be. But definitely.
Pretty much as soon as I hit New York, I was one of the street freaks with multicolored hair and homemade clothes and everything. And they're like, you all right, man?
Hanging out at St. Mark's Place. And
oh yeah. So and going down to DuPont Circle in DC around the same time too.
I'm not familiar, unfortunately.
It's about the same thing. It's only in DC. Every city's got one.
Every city got the what would you call that? The head area? Or
yeah.
Like head shops. Now,
here in LA, that's pretty much everywhere. It's kind of like Colorado these days.
Okay. I had a friend that he lives out in Colorado, and he says, he doesn't mind people that smoke pot or whatever. He gets sick and tired of walking into stores, and it's like, these people that every bit of their clothing has a marijuana leaf on it. They have 420 bumper stickers all over their car. Like, okay, we get it. You like to get high.
Yeah.
That's got to get a little irritating.
I'm sure it does. But that'll wear off after a while.
Yeah.
It'll after a while just become not a thing anymore, and it will just kind of fade off.
So that was a heavy ecstasy scene, or you don't want to get into that?
Yeah, no. Anyway,
because I remember being my teenage years, E and X and all the other K.
No, back in the '90s when I was really doing the convention scene on the East Coast, I was doing Balticon and EveCon, Unicon, and CastleCon. The whole early scene of the con scene on the East Coast, Disclave in Baltimore used to host my birthday party for like 5 years running. And those days we had some interesting combinations of this. Very, very interesting days. I mean, we had one convention in, I believe it was a Disclave in Baltimore. Because it was my birthday party. There were all of us having a big, convention party. Everything's going on. We have like disco lights going in the room. We have a DJ going on. The hotel set up around the pool. It's basically a big party, right? And somebody comes in. I'm all, let's say, fuckered up, sitting on the couch, and people are coming like going, dude, have you seen the waterfall in the lobby? And I'm like, no waterfall in the lobby. This goes on for like a half hour. And I'm like, all right, you people, fine. I'm going to go see the waterfall in the lobby you're all talking about. And then I realize it's because there's water pouring through the ceiling. We find out the next day at the convention that somebody, a New York City cop, we find out later, had handcuffed his overly large-sized girl to the sprinkler head. Up in one of the S&M rooms, thus pulling the sprinkler out of the wall. It was hilarious. But the way the hotel was set up, any of us that weren't over in that tower or in that area didn't care. We went back to our rooms. The sirens are going off. I found out a friend of mine who was a computer nerd had all of his equipment and everything directly underneath the room where the water was pouring out. He lost a lot of his original video game systems. I think they brought like 6 different video game systems, including like a Jaguar and some of the really obscure ones nobody heard of. Completely trashed. The best part about it was my friend Tommy's actually laying in the bed when the water starts coming. He's so drunk he can barely move. It was reported that he kind of looked up at the water coming down from the ceiling, half awake, going, "Ugh, my tent is leaking." Throws the blanket over his head and goes back to sleep. Because it was not uncommon at Penzic or some of the medieval events I used to do where it would pour down rain while you're camping. So he was like, "Oh, my tent's leaking." Oh yeah, there's been some interesting cons I've been to in that time.
I mean, with cons being like obviously celebrating fandoms from comic books to movies to science fiction to fantasy. What did you like? Any particular ones from growing up that were like your faves? Like you had to be in front of the TV when it was on.
Honestly, when I was a kid, I think it was like 11. We had visited my aunt and uncle in Arizona, and they had Nickelodeon. We did not have cable or Nickelodeon back then. And there was this show called The Tomorrow People. I thought this was it was a British TV show. It had all the quality of Doctor Who back then. Horrible sets, horrible special effects. But it had the concept of these kids who were mutated, and they actually called themselves the Tomorrow People. They were the next evolution in human evolution. And I thought it was a brilliant concept. And there was a time that my parents had to postpone dinner until after I was done watching The Tomorrow People because I would not get away from the couch to watch that science fiction show.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
You're telling the Marine that no, Chow Time's gonna have to wait.
Yep, sure did. He learned not to argue. But it was also a family thing that Star Trek, when the original Star Trek was on, every Saturday night we had homemade pizza and root beer floats and watched Star Trek together. Wow. So my whole family was kind of about science fiction.
Oh, okay. So it was part of your.
Yeah, it was part of how I grew up. I mean, we started with the original Star Trek.
Now, can you pinpoint that exact aha moment? Like I always say nerdy, even though a couple episodes back, one of my guests, he was like, "I don't like nerdy. I prefer geeky because nerdy indicates intelligence and geeky, whatever terminology you want to use, nerdy or geeky. I prefer nerdy." Right. Can you pinpoint that one aha moment where like you were like watching The Tomorrow People or something like that, where like, this is my thing, these are my people, this is I love this.
That was absolutely it. Tomorrow People was the first thing that I had seen science fiction, and I had to be like 9 or 10 years old. I wasn't much of a reader because we find out later that I was still am dyslexic. Back then they didn't even know what dyslexia was. They just thought I couldn't read. So I would go to read book that would take me 3 months to read. My sister would read it in 3 days. And I was always sitting there with that book. But, things have changed now. So it wasn't really literature. But probably the first thing visually was definitely the Tomorrow People. And then as far as books go, was probably actually Anne Rice's Lestat books. Because they were the first books that I read that weren't a gay storyline, but they had just enough homoerotica to make it interesting. And it was one of those things that I'd never seen before.
So like you're saying, like you hung out in the East Village, early '90s, with the Anne Rice books. Would you have considered yourself part of the goth scene?
Oh, honey, you have no idea who I am, do you? I used to hang out with the Sanguinarian Society, the actual vampire society. There is a New York Vampire Society. Mm-hmm. They are connected with the San Francisco Vampire Society and the Paris Vampire Society. Diva Bells is actually, they've heard of me in the New York Vampire Societies.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to run House Diva. Which was a hospitality house. We used to throw parties. I've kind of always thrown parties. House Diva was the hospitality house. We would throw parties and cook and make special cocktails and greet new members and stuff. That was kind of what I did with the New York Vampires. The ones that are still alive will probably remember me.
Yeah, I remember. I was kind of I hung out with people that were in that scene. I was never, my memories were like going to what was called the Bank on Houston Street, on Avenue A. Once again, that's pretty much where I grew up. I drove, but I could have walked home if I wanted to. If I got ultimately trashed, I could have walked home. Never did, but I do remember. Like I said, it was more. I hung out with people who were more in that scene. I wouldn't consider myself like a goth per se. I was more of a metalhead.
They like to call me a hippogoth because I wasn't really gothy because I like color, and I've always liked color. I couldn't do the whole black thing and dye my hair black and black nails and black board. But I'd show up at some of these events and still be in 90% black, but still be with like orange or pink or red,
Orange seems to be your signature color because your hair is like a very, very bright orange.
I've actually been doing the fluorescent orange for about 20 years now. Wow. And it started back in the old con scene. It became a signature. People would recognize me by it. And, I tried to get rid of it. Oh, yeah, no, that's kind of the point. I live in Los Angeles. I'm really hoping that one of these idiots run into me just so I can walk into court and go, really? And the judge goes, you win. How much money you want? The defense is saying they didn't see him. Really?
Traffic cone orange.
Oh, no. At work, when I'm doing event production, some of the times one of the things I have to do is walking in front of the forklifts and the large machinery to move people out of the way. They for some reason, they won't see the thing carrying 30 tons of weight over their head, but they will see the guy with the bright orange hair.
Being part of the goth scene and like I said before the episode, part of me doing the research for this episode was I kind of stalked your Facebook page. And I know you mentioned earlier the Pensick Wars or
yes, the Pensick Wars.
Pensick Wars, and you also have a rooted history in Renaissance fairs.
Oh yes. Actually, before I moved to the East Coast, while I was still in Missouri, about 19, I guess I was, I went to the Kansas City Renaissance Fair. It was my first Renaissance fair. And all of a sudden, I found people that like to dress up, like to be weird, like to listen to different music, and in general have a really good time. At 19, they introduced me to a completely new world as far as the whole medieval thing went. I'd never seen anything like that. And that's actually when I first moved out of my parents' house, was during Renaissance season, during the Kansas City Renaissance Fair, because it was just easier to go and stay at a friend's house up there than drive back and forth every weekend. It was like a 5-hour drive. So I ended up moving in with some people in Kansas City and just kind of never moved back home. And then eventually somebody said, hey, you want to move with me to the East Coast? And I went, sure, why not?
Well, when I think, Kansas City, even using comic book mythology, Clark Kent being from Kansas City, you can't get any more middle America than Kansas. So, I mean, and it had a flourishing Renaissance. I mean, forgive me for being an East Coast.
No. This is one of the things that people don't realize about Kansas City because they think of it as Kansas City. Kansas City has a gigantic art institute. When I moved up there after the Renaissance season was over, I started working at a cafe, I guess, sandwich and beer place that was right next to the art university, and I was meeting some really, really intelligent people. I was actually kind of surprised. We had a baker that worked downstairs that actually signed everything the Dragon Dyke. I'm 19. I'm like somebody who's that proud that just signs all of her paperwork the Dragon Dyke and draws it like a dragon. It's a really cool signature. But no, Kansas City has a thriving art scene, and not that I've been back there in 30 years. But their Renaissance Fair, because there's 3 in the country that bounce back and forth on number 1: Kansas City, Maryland, and Texas. And it's because they own their own property and just had lots of room to spread. So it's huge. I can't tell you exactly how big it is, but it's really big. But to run into people that like to dress up and speak with funny accents and bounce around and have a good time, it seemed like my kind of people. So I just kind of stayed there. And then at my first actual Ren Fair post-revel, the party after the park closes, for the first time in my life, somebody puts on Sisters of Mercy and Bela Lugosi's Dead. I had never heard these 2 songs in my life, and I thought my brain was going to explode. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And that was my first introduction to the goth scene, was actually through the Ren Fair scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I guess for me it was more of well, as soon as I say Sisters of Mercy, I think of the Lost Boys and that kind of I mean, I remember hanging out like on St. Mark's Place. For those who aren't familiar with New York City, is kind of the artsy part of town. Especially in the late '90s, it was still it was before the gentrification. Where it was in the '80s it was cracked out houses and stuff like that. And so because it was such a horrible area, a lot of artists were able to live there because it was dirt cheap. Nobody wanted to live there.
Right.
Now you have freaking Whole Foods, opening across the street from where like CBGB's used to be, and CBGB's is out of business. So
right. Yeah, I heard about that. That was a couple years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it still irks the shit out of me. It's still like I am a big advocate for the Lower East Side. Even don't live there anymore. I mean, my daughter, without getting into a big drama story, I'm upstate New York because this is where my daughter was born, and I'm in a custody battle right now. But my heart and soul is from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and it kills me that like none of my all of my close friends that grew up on the Lower East Side that had Chinese food at real Chinese restaurants, that had kosher food. I'm a fat guy, so I tell you, culture comes from food.
There's a lot of food in this city. It's easy. Kosher Jewish, going to Dominican restaurants, there was so much culture to be absorbed, and now it's becoming so like, this whole new wave of people who I'm assuming moved there to absorb culture are now like wasps, they're destroying the culture that they moved there to absorb. Right. When there is a Whole Foods, and not that I have anything against Whole Foods, but it's the fact that CBGB's was there, and across the street they're opening a Whole Foods, but the CBGB's has to close because they can't afford their own rent. It just like it definitely it sets a pattern that I'm not happy with. And like none of my friends, none of the people that I grew up with, my inner circle of like people that I love with all my heart and soul, can afford to live there. Right. The only reason our parents still live in the Lower East Side is because they've had the same apartment since 1973. They just never moved. Yeah. Right. So it just when I talk about the East Village and stuff like that, like I mean I do feel like I was lucky enough to grow up during like this weird cultural amalgam. I mean a true melting pot. And especially like going to like St. Mark's Place because people purposely made it their goal to go to that area. Like when you had the NYU kids and people from out of state, and when they finally moved to the Lower East Side, I mean that's kind of like where they hung out, and you saw artists, street musicians, all types of performers, and growing up in the goth scene, I mean kids that were just flat out weird. I mean I was lucky enough where I could walk there. I mean there are people who like literally lived in like my ex-wife. I mean she came from the hardest neighborhoods of the South Bronx, dressed gothic, and had to get on a train. Where you're walking
under the hood where they don't understand, the makeup and the
and
style.
the hair and the nails and
Yeah, you're walking through hostile territory to go to the place where you can express yourself, but it is, unfortunately, it's kind of dead now. It's definitely not the same. The artists can't afford to live there anymore.
Right.
Even when I don't know if you're familiar at all with Clayton's hats.
Yes.
Even Clayton said, once he declared the Lower East Side is dead, that was the final nail in the coffin. I'm sorry. You can obviously tell I have a chip on my shoulder. Okay, so we're about halfway through the episode right now. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about BentCon. So, as I usually say with my co-host, we'll be back with more dick and fart jokes.
Oh, I have those.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc., 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Click and Hit, enhancing the experience for all recreational smokers. Click and Hit is a one-handed portable vaporizer. This smoking pipe has a compact 4-stage design, complete with a built-in, windproof, butane refillable torch lighter. The large burn chamber holds your stash of legal herb or pipe tobacco. Click the button to ignite and inhale as usual. When you are done, put it back in your pocket for later. Smoke anytime with the touch of a button. No more carrying around grinders and tins. You can leave the pipe, rolling papers, and even your lighter at home. The Click and Hit cordless vaporizer is no bigger than a normal cigar, making it the world's smallest and most discreet vaporizer. It's perfect for use in small places or shared rooms. It's efficient, getting 5 to 8 draws from your packed chamber. It's affordable at just $19.95 each. Buy 3 and the shipping is free. Buy 4 and you get the 5th one free. Visit www.click-n-hit.com. That's clickandhit.com.
And now for listeners of Two Strangers, One Podcast, you can use promo code STRANGERS and receive 10% off your purchase at clickandhit.com. That's promo code STRANGERS for 10% off your purchase.
And we're back. Okay, so Bells, I've been harassing you online to come on the show, and unfortunately, I was a little busy. I apologize for not being able to record this episode as soon as I wanted to. But one of the reasons that you're here on the show is to talk about BentCon.
Yes.
So can you give us just a kind of like the origins? And I know this is the 5th year.
This is our 5th year. Yes. BentCon is a LGBTQIA Comic-Con, basically. We like to say we're like Comic-Con, only gayer. We have a lot of our artists and guests. We have a lot of queer comics, a lot of queer writers that show up. We have special guests from pretty much all sorts of media. Our big one's Anne Rice. We're super excited about Anne Rice coming. Here's where my goss starts oozing out of it. Prince Lestat comes out exactly 10 days before our convention. I am going to be way too busy to have time to read it before I get to meet her. But she's coming because her son Christopher Rice does a podcast called The Dinner Party. It's a pre-recorded podcast. Sometimes they're live podcasts. So, he'll say what kind they are, but they're going to do a recorded podcast interviewing Anne Rice about Prince Lestat in front of our live audience. We're really excited about that. We actually have for BentCon we're doing a Kickstarter right now too, and we have VIP seating as prizes on our Kickstarter. You can just search Kickstarter BentCon and we come right up. BENTCON. We got tons of cool prizes coming from that. I'm kind of excited to meet Jane Epson. She does Once Upon a Time. She's the producer. She's also worked on like Warehouse 13, Eureka, and pretty much every cool science fiction thing over the past couple of years. I'm really excited to meet Jane too. She's come the past couple of years, but last year I was too busy running things to actually have time to sit down and talk to her. I'm trying to make it a point to be able to talk to some more of our guests this year.
That's always like when you're a person that organizes the party, the night of the party. I mean, not I say party, but when you organize something, you are too busy, keeping the plate spinning.
Oh yeah.
That you want to make everyone else comfortable and happy, and and enjoying themselves. And unfortunately, you get neglected. The shoemaker's children go barefoot.
It is what it is. I'm hoping to make a really good show. I mean, I'm really excited about several things. Did you see King of the Nerds?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Did you see Xander?
Yes.
Okay. Big Queen Xander. We love Xander to no end. He's going to be there. He actually rode with us on our float for the West Hollywood Gay Pride Day. We were out passing out flyers there. He's actually on our Kickstarter too, because we're doing a Play with Xander, we're calling it, where you can actually pledge to sit down and play a board game with him.
Okay, because that was one of his one of his things, if I'm not.
That's his thing, is board games. He's got a podcast called Under the Table that I've been begging him to be on, because they sit around and play board games and get drunk. I mean, how fun is that? They are hammered. I watch this show every time there's a new episode because they are freaking hilarious. They always get a guest or two, and I'm like, I want to be on. It's like fun.
Oh, absolutely.
We also, yeah, but yeah, I ran into the whole cast of that at Comic-Con this year, and they're like, "Yay, we just got picked up for another season. We'll call." I'm like, "Okay, yay!"
Yeah, actually, from the first season, we had Alana Brown Smith. She was on, and actually, she lives about an hour south of where I'm staying, and I'd even made the offer because she had come to Rochester to be in a con, and of course, the one day she's in town, I have to work, and I couldn't, trust me, I was trying to get off. But she's been on our show as a call-in guest, and Mujige Cooper, who I love. I have the biggest crush on. I'm sorry, she's adorable and she's intelligent, and so we are very familiar with the King of the Nerds. Very, very good to the show. Very, very.
Yeah, Xander's a big supporter of BentCon, so we're a big supporter of him. And he's super sweet. He's so much fun to hang out with. He hasn't said quite what game he wants to do yet, but you got time. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be fun. You're going to sit around and play a game with Xander. I wish I had time to do that. And Wendy Peeney from ElfQuest is going to be there, and she's got a new book coming out right now too. Okay. Wendy and Richard Peeney have been big supporters of BentCon for years, to the point where they're like super busy. Poor Wendy's actually even apologizing on Twitter here and there about how busy she is, but luckily she's one of her few appearances this year is going to be at BentCon.
Oh, okay.
So we have some special. It's fun because she always gets to judge the costume contest, and it's always funny to see how many people break out the ElfQuest to try and get her attention. I'm okay with this.
I can only imagine what a BentCon costume contest, right? The large amount of talent that's in that room. I can only imagine.
Oh my God, it's kind of fierce actually. We had these two guys, literally, they call themselves the Real Guys. And they did the cop and the zombie cop from Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. All right, so the cop's pulling the other one up on the chain, the other one's doing the zombie thing, yanks him hard right up into his face where they start making out and spewing blood all over between the two of them. The whole crowd went crazy because they're both kind of cute to begin with. Okay, they're totally hot. And the two of them start making out. There's like blood all over the place. And it's like, okay, you win. But we have some really imaginative costumes, too. The guy that won our single costume in the costume contest did Gravity, which basically he had a spacesuit that was kind of tilted back, but then he had these arm pieces coming out with little satellites rotating around it and little toys and a little stuffed spaceman floating out to the side of it. And, his like from the waist down was all in black. So it looked like he was floating upside down. It's like, okay, you win. There's a lot of work and things moving on that. That's really cool. So, and of course, we have the sexy Batman and Robin. And that kind of stuff. But
I remember looking at pictures from last year's BentCon, and it's like, to see. I mean, some of these guys, and look at, I'm straight. I'm what you would call an ally. I'm
absolutely,
I'm all for it. But I mean, you see these guys.
We like to call you ungays.
Ungays. These guys with ridiculous, when I like comic books. You know what I'm saying? And you see these guys. Obviously, when you're drawn, it's obviously part of a fantasy, as in like just how incredibly cut up a human being can be. Then you get these guys that are like the freaking living embodiment of,
body paint is really big at a gay convention. There's a lot of body paint.
It's just, but it's like, it's like, Jesus Christ, I can only imagine the dedication it takes to,
Oh yeah, no, to some of those. And some of them, either they'll spend a lot of time getting their body to work for their costume, or they'll spend a lot of time making these big elaborate costumes. And some of them are really obscure things out of comic books. We had Shishomaru a couple years ago from Inuyasha. We get all kinds of costumes. This year, actually, we're having a car show, too. We've got one of the Jeeps from Jurassic Park showing up to be out front, and the Joker's police car from one of the Batman movies is showing up.
Oh.
Yeah. Those are kind of cool. We might be getting more cars, but it's kind of one of those, it's like, okay, what's not being used on the lot this weekend? Because I believe they're called the Hollywood Car Museum, is a big supporter of BentCon, so they're going to let us use some cars to put out front, or like photos and stuff.
Okay, so for the uninitiated, the Kickstarter, part of people usually start a Kickstarter campaign. Right now, as this episode is being recorded, we got 12 days to go, so we're about halfway through. It's sadly at a third of its goal right now, which I'm going to do my best to change that, or do my little part in changing that. Now, what it does is you donate money to the cause, and depending on the amount that you donate, there are rewards. That's I'm just spelling it out for the people who don't know what Kickstarter is. Even as low as $1 gets you eternal gratitude and good karma. So just that alone, if you can't make it, to the West Coast, because this is going to be the West. It's in West Hollywood, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, no, it's in Burbank. It's November 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Burbank Marriott. It's like right next to the Burbank Airport. It's really easy to get to.
And is it Bob Hope Airport or no? What am I?
Yes, it's Bob Hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
And forgive my ignorance of Los Angeles geography.
It's the easier one to go through. It's the easier one. But anyway, yes, we're doing a Kickstarter.
And all right, let me see. $5. And once again, this is all predicated on, even if you don't have a lot of money, $5, who doesn't have $5, which you would spend on a cup of coffee? Thank you on the Facebook page and on the official website, and your name on the Step and Repeat sponsor wall. What's the Step and Repeat sponsor wall?
What a Step and Repeat is, it's a Hollywood thing. Whenever they take a picture of somebody and they're standing in front of a bunch of logos, that's called a Step and Repeat.
Oh, okay.
And what we want to do is, this should be ending just in enough time that we can get all of the donators' names printed onto this big wall, with the BentCon logo in the middle and like everybody, all the sponsors' names around it. And then we'll have a professional photographer, and you can like get your name picture or get your picture taken with your name, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's another one of those fun things to do when you're at the con.
Okay. And at $10, a BentCon commemorative poker chip, which I think looks pretty cool. And a thank you on the Facebook page. And then basically the later rewards kind of encompass the previous rewards. Okay, so the BentCon poker chip, which just looks cool, and you can show that you're a supporter. Even just for $10.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I'm just going to read these off. $15 will get you a BentCon follow on Twitter, which is always good. BentCon, and then all the previous things.
And a lot of them are pretty much from the $15 level and down. All the thank yous and a poker chip. And if you give anything over $15.
16 is the flex sticker level, and it's all these
Flex Comics. If you look down to the pictures on the other side of the page, you'll see what those pictures are. It's like Deadpool and Deadpool and Bulk, and they're Flex Comics specializes in like weightlifting and bodybuilding comics.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know there was such a thing, but it's really cool actually. I've since picked it up and I'm like, oh, this is really neat.
$20. Minus Zero Productions. You get 2 art prints from Zach Nia, who's an artist on Angel and Demon. You can see the description. $20. A David Holly level. A signed presentation copy of Raptures of Time.
It's a book.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of them are actual novels too. We've had a couple of novelists that have given us copies of their books, signed books.
Okay, so yeah, so you can, so once again, people, if you can't make it to, I guess the big thing is obviously you want people to attend, but these are for if you can't make it out west, you don't have, if you don't have a couple bucks to go to the East Coast, you can't go to JetBlue or whatever the case may be. The money still goes to support BentCon, and I guess this is supposed to go towards
basically paying
today's
for it.
BentCon and next Bent, like future?
No, pretty
Batman?
much this one.
Okay.
Because if you look at the stretch goals and stuff, if you know anything about Kickstarter, once you make your initial goal, you have stretch goals, and once you reach those stretch goals, you can do other things. Like if I make another couple of grand over what I have, I get to throw a better party. Because like staging and lighting and stuff is expensive, and if we can get the extra money to cover it, then I get lasers. Lasers, that kind of thing. Because if I get lasers, everyone else gets lasers.
And you want BELLZ to have lasers.
Oh, they're just so much fun. Why not? But the thing is, we've got a lot of art prints and a lot of novels and books, but we have a Megas package. Did you see the Megas package?
How did I miss that? I must have missed that. So there's a Megas package?
Yes, I forget what level it's at.
For all of our
I think it's one of the
faithful listeners. So basically, I don't want to draw it out by going over everyone unless you want to.
It's at the $130 level, and there's actually a picture. It's Jody actually donated. It's a limited issue shirt that they only printed at the studio, so only a few people got these. And it's one of the little 3-inch dolls, one of the toys, which was not released pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, and I know,
I'm sorry I don't have a better picture, but it's my phone.
Because I know, people, I want to say, I believe it was Jody that had posted a picture, and then as soon as he posted a picture, everyone on Twitter was like, how can I get one? How can I get one? So here you go, people. This is how you get it.
There's only one of them, so the first one to bid on it gets it.
And this is Jody's?
Remember, this is also, this is from Jody. Jody's also can sign the T-shirt if you want it signed, too.
So this is, from the man himself.
Yes, this is from the man himself. This is from Jody. This is from the box that sits in the back of our closet.
Shit, I may, before this episode comes out, I may snatch that up. Pool party cabana massage.
Yes, we're having one of our big events that we like to do at BentCon because it's Southern California and why not? We do a pool party, and we do a pool party with mermaids and mermen. Okay. Actual professional merfolk that have the big silicone tails and stuff. You've probably seen them on TLC and on TV and stuff these days. Mm-hmm. But we always do a big and it's November, and we're still doing a pool party because we can, because it's the Valley. It's still hot there. But that's always tons of fun. So the merfolk have actually volunteered a couple of levels on our Kickstarter. One is a professional massage in one of the cabanas. We have poolside cabanas. There's a picture of the pool there on the Kickstarter page. During the party, so we'll have cabana boys bringing you drinks because of course there's a bar in the pool. Would I not have a bar in the pool? Not actually in the pool, but in the pool area. And the merfolk are going to have some aerialists and stuff, and some contortionists that are going to be doing some circus acts, and a LGBT diving club from San Diego is coming up and bringing underwater photographers, so you can get your picture taken under the water with the mermaids.
That's great. It's you're blowing my mind here, man.
Doesn't that sound like fun?
I can only imagine
Yeah. Oh, and for some reason, gee, how did this happen? They're gorgeous. All of them. The guys, the girls, they're just stunning. They're kind of hard not to look at. Whenever I need to deal with something with the hotel, I send in my merman Jax to go and deal with the hotel because it's so funny to watch her go squishy when he walks in the room. Because he's just so pretty. He's like, oh, I've got some questions about the pool for the pool party. And I'm like, why don't you go talk to Elizabeth? And he comes back going, well, it was a little smaller than I thought it was, but she said I could have anything I want. And I'm like, yeah, I bet she did. So, yeah, we've got so many fun things going on during the weekend. We do karaoke for 2 nights during the con. And, yeah, all kinds of stuff. And pretty much everyone that's on the Kickstarter, you can meet at the con. If you get one of the art prints, I think almost all of them will actually be at the con. So you'll be able to meet them in person and get it signed. Because this is for an event, a lot of the Kickstarter can be picked up actually at the con. We'll have a Kickstarter booth set up. So if you win a prize, you can actually pick it up at the con. And we even have discount tickets, cheaper than what they are on our website, for sale on the Kickstarter.
Now, if I'm not mistaken from my research, the price of the tickets, can that be deducted for tax reasons or for tax?
Yes.
Because it's as it counts as a charity.
Yes, we're a 501c3 nonprofit for LGBT studies and practices. Through art and comic and such like that.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a whole official thing that I'm supposed to say that I can't remember at the moment.
But in a roundabout way, I mean, it's
Anything that you give to us can be considered a tax write-off and a donation. We actually have a spot on our website, which is bent-con.org, where you can donate directly to the con, or you can get sponsorship if you have a company that would like to advertise. We do all kinds of things like that, because we don't make any money off this, and it's really expensive to throw these kind of things.
And also, you're taking if people want to be volunteers.
Oh yes,
I believe, like you said, you're a volunteer technically.
Oh, everyone's a volunteer. Nobody gets paid for this. But yeah, we actually have. There's a volunteer group on Facebook, or you can sign up to be a volunteer through the website. And what we do is it's a 1-day badge for a 4-hour shift, or a weekend badge for 2 4-hour shifts. Over the course of the weekend. And volunteering can be, that guy that stands in front of the door going, "You got a badge? You got a badge? You got a badge? Let me see your badge." Those guys.
Yeah.
But, some of them could be, like we need a lot of volunteers to help with like line monitors and stuff, because we expect there to be a fairly good sized crowd with Anne Rice, especially 10 days after the book's coming out. So she's actually what's closing down. She's the last thing on Sunday. On the 9th is when she'll be there.
Main event, Anne Rice. Which, I mean, other than that, I mean, obviously, Anne Rice. You say that, that's a name that the ground shakes when you say Anne Rice.
Yes, yes, we were so happy about that. Her son's actually been coming for years, but he talked her into it this year.
and really, you guys are really striking. When the iron's iron hot, red hot. After, people have been waiting for this book for years now. I mean, I could only imagine.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was actually funny. One of my New York vampire friends, Father Sebastian. Yes, I'm going to call him out by name because I think it's funny. Sent me a notice saying, "The new Anne Rice Prince Lestat book is coming out. Reserve your copy now." And I'm like, "Yeah, she's got one for me." Oh, by the way, did you know she's coming to my con? That was so much fun to say, because he's one of the bigwigs in the Vampire Society, both in New York and in Paris. Mm-hmm. So, and he's been somebody that Jody and I have known for decades at this point. So it was kind of funny. Hopefully he'll come out. I've tried to talk him into coming to the convention. I'd give him VIP seating for Anne if you wanted it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we definitely like to encourage every listener of this show, go to the Kickstarter, donate what you can there. I mean, look, I may snatch up this Megas XLR package myself, so I may snatch it up. I may cheat and snatch it up before this episode comes out. But
one of the other things that I'm really excited about is, have you ever seen a little movie called Final Destination?
Absolutely. Love them.
Well, Final Destination is actually written by Jeffrey Riddick, who's a friend of BentCon. He's going to do a script read. If you've got a script or a pitch for a movie or something, he's going to read it for you.
So here's a guy who's been in the system, knows how it works.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was. He's
got a successful franchise of movies. Yeah.
So here you go. For all the, everyone is like, oh, I can. People. That,
he's just got so much knowledge in his head that it would be, if you're an up and coming writer, you could really use an opportunity like this. The guy's brilliant.
And it's a lunch with
lunch or drinks or whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm just saying, it's so you can go,
It's a sit down one-on-one.
And he sits and he gives
you... And actually, if somebody does buy that and has a script, he told me, because, this is West Hollywood and he lives 3 blocks away. I've run into him at the cafe all the time. But he said that he'll take the script before the convention, and then when you show up at the convention, he'll be ready with notes to sit down and talk about it. How cool is that? Mm-hmm. It's not just a read over or I'll take it and I'll read it later. No, he actually said, I'll take it, read it ahead of time, and have notes ready.
So you would think for what? Because right now I'm looking at it right now. That is at the 650 level, and people take writing classes. Really, what was that?
That is one of the higher level pledges, but it's really worth it.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. For what some people would spend on a writing class or writing weekend or writing, these people that claim that they're going to get your script, put up there. I mean, here you go, the real deal. Boom. He's going to sit there, read it, and give you notes right from
right from your script. Yep. Yeah. No, he's really a nice guy.
Awesome. We definitely encourage everyone to check out the Kickstarter. Like I said, even if it's as small as $1, but of course, we want you to think a little bigger, damn it.
Of course, we like the bigger ones too. But I mean, even if you think if you live in the Los Angeles, Southern California area and want to come to the con, the fact that we even have the one-day passes and the weekend passes for $10 cheaper, and that's $10 cheaper than what it is on the website now, which is going to go up $10 on that price at door. So it's helping us paying us the more for the at the door price, but I got to pay for the stuff ahead of time.
Yeah. So even like I said, I am even for the ungays like myself. Yeah. Get your good karma out there. Just
a lot of it's. I mean, we're definitely a gay or LGBT focus, but a lot of our people are not gay at all. Last year, just because they were supporters, unfortunately, they're not going to make it this year. But we had Tom Kenny, Martin Olson, and Martin's daughter, who plays Marceline. We had pretty much all of Adventure Time there last year, just because they were friends of the staff, and it was kind of nice. Of course, most other panels, the panelists get water. We gave them whiskey. Tom Kenny was like, "This is the best panel ever."
And your husband Jody's going to be hosting a panel, right? If I'm not mistaken, or being one of the featured guests, or
I believe so. They're still working out what panels he's going to be on. There's a couple of animation panels and cartooning panels. It's still up in the air about what he's going to do, but yeah, he's a guest. Mm-hmm. He's registered as a guest. Yeah.
So it's going to be an incredible couple of days out in West Hollywood. I wish I was able to make it. I don't think I'm going to be able to. But
it's a month away and the weekend after Halloween.
Oh yeah. But if you can get out there, and even if you can't get out there, check out the Kickstarter, donate what you can. So I think we're going to wrap this up right now. So,
alrighty.
Once again, is there anything...
Jody coming up the stairs.
Oh, okay. If there's anything, any way people want to contact you, let them know about the BentCon Facebook page, anything that you want to get out there, just so...
Definitely check out our website, which has the links to everything, which is bent-con.org, BENT-CON.org. Mm-hmm. And you can check us out on Facebook. We have a BentCon Community Connect page, as well as our BentCon fan page. Mm-hmm. You can also find us on Twitter at official BentCon.
Okay, it's official
BentCon. I think that's all my social media.
And then Facebook.com/BentCon. That's all, no dash, all just BentCon. And that's what I had said is that if I was able to get a couple bucks and cross the country and go to BentCon. Now I know part of just imagine the cosplay that's going to go on there. But some part of the cosplay people do is what they call gender bent, where they take a character that's traditionally male and it's enacted by a female and vice versa. I would flip that, and
we get a lot of female Batmans and male Poison Ivies.
I would be Bender Gent. I would be Bender from Futurama with a top hat and a monocle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So instead of being gender,
I actually have that toy with the little pink tutu on it.
I would be Bender Gent instead of gender bent. That would be my costume if I could afford to go cross country.
Oh, we've got all kinds of cosplay. If Jody and I can get it, we're actually going to Disneyland this weekend to pick up Mickey hands because we want to make milk and cheese this year for Halloween. Yeah, we want to do milk and cheese and carry around sign bubbles and scream Merv Griffin and run through crowds. It'll be fun.
So it sounds like an incredible party. We encourage all our listeners to go and check it out. Check out all the social media outlets to get to BentCon. Donate your money, even if it's just $1, just for the good karma. Damn it.
We really need it. I mean, it's a good cause, but the prices keep rising on these things, and damn it, my lasers ain't cheap. Honestly, the microphones just to be able to hear the people on stage aren't cheap.
So it's going to be a party. It's going to be just an incredible creative outlet. And we run till 2:00 in the morning. Most other cons seem to wrap up at like 7 or 9 o'clock. We actually have the expo center. The vendors room won't be open that late, but we've got like dances and karaoke and like bars set up all over the place, and really do have a party till 2:00 in the morning. So it is going to be an event. It is. Get your sleep because you're going to need it. Yeah, I think my last sleep is probably going to be the Tuesday before, probably.
Yeah. Jody's kind of a guest, so he can make sure I go, so I stop once in a while. He's like, I'm making you eat this year. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Dehydrated. So, okay, we'd like to thank BELLZ Jordan for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Check out all his projects. Donate, goddammit.
Thank you.
And we certainly hope you guys enjoyed listening and had as much fun as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris. You can say
I'm BELLZ.
Don't be a stranger. Bye.
Bye.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double
it?
Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne smells good to me.
But
Look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
but it is spelled Colon.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? I sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I got to meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia is spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show, I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it, that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15 and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15 is not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his comic books, heavy metal, video games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne right now.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonepodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out.